All right. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to our official Pinterest Predicts 2026 live training. We have been anticipating this moment, and we are so excited to show you how to make the most of the 21 trends that we predict are going to take off in the year ahead. And I'm also thrilled to share all of the unlimited possibilities for you as a marketer to use these trends to build cultural relevance and drive business impact. My name is Emmy Burns, and I'm an integrated marketing director here at Pinterest. And today I'm joined by four amazing colleagues, Edwin, Lavina, Cecilia, and Cameron, whom you'll hear from more over the course of this webinar. Before we get into the much anticipated predictions and playbook around how you can activate the trends, I want to first touch on why this report is so important to your brand. You can probably all relate to the fact that today's economy demands discernment between things like inflation, global tariffs, unemployment. Consumers are more choiceful about how they spend and what they spend on. In fact, this stat shows that 77% of weekly Pinterest users say the news about economic issues has impacted their purchasing decisions. And you can probably relate to this on the marketing side. Your marketing budget might be facing a similar squeeze. Nearly half of marketers in the US plan to reduce budgets in response to concerns about the potential impact of tariffs on their ad spending. This means you are likely facing two key challenges. One, winning the share of wallets of shoppers who have become increasingly selective, and finding ways to stretch a shrinking budget, or in some cases, slicing that budget outright. And I'm here today to share how leveraging trends can help you solve both of these challenges. So as you work to identify more efficient ways to reach your audience and evaluate your investments, trends can provide a really valuable way in. They help you to build cultural relevance with consumers and lead you to where their intent already lies. In fact, we see that brands with high cultural relevance grow 6 times more than brands with low cultural relevance. I think this really shows that trends aren't just about being cool or current. They're about being efficient and effective even during these uncertain times. That being said, the truth is not every trend that arises is worth chasing. I think we can all agree to that. And when we say trends, I want to take a second first to define what we really mean by this. True trends are cultural and behavioral shifts that build momentum over time, and for you, they're going to drive measurable business results. They're very different from social media buzz, which creates fleeting fads that can drain your budget without delivering ROI. I'm sure many people here can think of examples of this. As a marketer, you don't need unlimited trends. You need trends that resonate, trends that hold unlimited potential for your brand to build relevance and help you to drive that real business impact. So enter Pinterest Predicts. Pinterest is where over 500 million people come to free themselves from fads and thoughtfully decide what's next for them. This might be their next meal, their next look, maybe even their next trip. And because pinners are planners, we know what our users will be interested in the future. We know what's going to be really big really soon. And each year, we pass that forward-looking insight on to you with our Not Yet Trending Report Pinterest Predicts. So it features the 21 breakout trends that you can use to break through. It gives you those unlimited possibilities for those performant campaigns, eye-catching creative, unexpected activations, even product lines, and more. So the reality is, we know that investing in trends today can sometimes feel like a gamble. And Pinterest works hard to transform that gamble into data-backed certainty, and we use rigorous best-in-class methodology that's built on predictive analytics. So first, we are analyzing billions of Pinterest searches and the visual content our users engage with. And this gives us really a complete picture of what's capturing attention. So it's not just the words, but it's also the colors, the styles, the aesthetics that people are drawn to. Then, with a boost from machine learning, our trend experts combine data insights with real-world observations to identify the emerging patterns. So this really brings together the art and the science. And then finally, as a final step, we gut check growth potential with a mix of predictive analytics and platform engagement signals that ensure trends have staying power. And again, they're not just going to fade overnight. But we do more than just identify what's going to be big next. We also like to say that we bring the receipts. And I'm really proud of this stat. Pinterest Predicts has maintained an 88% accuracy rate over the past 6 years. So this really means that our trends have shown lasting relevance with growth. And this is across the entire performance funnel. So that includes search, saves, and shopping. And that's not luck. That's the power of analyzing real planning behavior at scale. So, when hundreds of millions of people start searching for and saving content around a particular theme, it creates a signal that's strong enough to reflect broader marketing behavior. And here's what makes this so different from social media trends. The predictions, again, don't fade in a week. They persist and evolve, and this is over the full course of a year. And this is why Pinterest trends are not fads. They are reliable cultural insights that you can build campaigns around. And after today, we hope you do. And the reliability is in large part because of our audience. So we mentioned that people on Pinterest are not passively scrolling. They're not loosely participating in trends. They're leaned in and engaging with the trends and really making them their own. It's this unique behavior that also makes the trends that arise on Pinterest more valuable to you as a marketer. They're more personal, so we see that the trends are driven by millions of people exploring what's important to them. So it's not being driven by a single person or a single brand. And that means marketers like you can have the confidence that trends that start on Pinterest are highly relevant to a valuable, engaged audience. They're also more actionable. So Pinterest users aren't just searching for trends, they're also acting on them. I think this stat really brings it to life. We saw last year that checkouts on Pinterest Predicts 2025 related content increased nearly 70% last year. And I think this really proves that seamless journey from inspiration to action on Pinterest and that it is also measurable. Finally, we see that trends are more durable. The trends last nearly 2 times longer than trends elsewhere on the internet. So this gives brands that invest in them nearly twice the runway for their content and to activate on them in fresh and unexpected ways. Now, I know that durable is a bold claim, especially when most micro trends or fads flame out in a matter of weeks. So let me pass it now to an expert, Edwin, on our brand research team, who's going to show an example of how one of our trends really evolved over time.
Great. Perfect, Emmy. Hi, everyone. My name is Edwin Villafan Hernandez, and I lead the data science and analytics behind our annual trend forecast, Pinterest Predicts. And as Emmy was saying, the majority of our predicts trends don't just maintain momentum, they also last throughout the year. And the best way to really understand this durability is to follow one trend through its entire life cycle. And so last year, we predicted that Gen Z and millennials would fall for the dark, sweet vibe of cherry red in 2025, infusing it into every single aspect of their lives. And we called this trend cherry coated. And turns out we were right. Cherry red was everywhere on our platform and outside of Pinterest as well. But cherry coated did more than just validate our prediction. It really showed us how a visual motif blossoms on Pinterest, spreading from a simple color aesthetic to a full-blown commercial category embraced by a trend-forward audience. And this is exactly how you turn trend insights into competitive advantages that solve both challenges, right? Winning discerning consumers while maximizing every advertising dollar. And so let's walk through how this unfolded across the entire funnel and what it means for advertisers. And so cherry coated really started with discovery. So over the past 2 years, cherry coated related searches grew 65%. And it really began with core aesthetic searches like dark cherry red, but quickly showed its viral potential. That initial curiosity moved into lifestyle, with users searching for cherry martini recipes, but this told us that people weren't passively scrolling. They were actively seeking to bring this trend into their lives. And for advertisers, this was a moment to intercept demand early, before brand decisions were made. So lower acquisition costs, higher efficiency, but this really is just the beginning. Because then came the curation phase. With 170% growth in saves, people began actively planning how to integrate cherry coated into their lives. And this wasn't just passive interest anymore. The aesthetic was most passionately applied to beauty, with massive saves for deep cherry red hair and cherry lipstick pins. And the culinary aspect took hold too, with people saving aspirational recipes like cherry tiramisus. And the crossover from color palette to pantry staple really showed the trend's true commercial breadth. And when your product appears on those saved boards, you have also made it onto their shopping list. And that directly impacts conversion probability. And then here is where it paid off quite literally. The journey from inspiration to action culminated in a 76% year over year growth in checkout conversions. And we also saw that broad purchase intent translated into a 190% lift in shopping clicks for dark red nail polish products. And so the trend's appeal extended into home goods and accessories, but most impressively, it drove significant grocery and wellness clicks. And so this was revenue across multiple categories. So brands that activated here weren't gambling on virality. They were serving products to high intent audiences who had already decided they wanted in on the cherry coated aesthetic. And that's what drove ROI. And so when we predict trends rooted in audience insight, and those trends show full funnel momentum, these trends in turn are not risky bets. Instead, they're strategic opportunities. And so again, cherry coated spread from a simple color to a whole explosive commercial category embraced by Gen Z and millennials. But it delivered staying power across discovery, consideration, and action. It worked across beauty, food, fashion, home, auto, and beyond. And that 76% conversion growth really translates into real business outcomes. And so the brands that won Cherry Coated didn't just watch the trend unfold. They activated strategically at every single stage, turning cultural relevance into measurable ROI. But it also just wasn't cherry coated on its own. The majority of our Pinterest Predicts trends didn't just maintain momentum. They continued growing across the year, across multiple seasons and categories. And so let's take a look at two other trends from this past year's report. And so with the fisherman aesthetic trend, we saw fisherman styles started gaining traction earlier in the year. And by year's end, saves were up 365%. Saves for hunter boot outfits grew 260%, and pins featuring nautical bags surged 125%. But this isn't just limited to saving actions, right? And so people are clicking on product pins to shop these trends as well. And so if we take a look at another 2025 trend, pickle fix, we saw pickle seasoning outbound clicks increasing 835%, while outbound clicks on shoppable canned pickle content grew 515%. And finally, we also saw clicks for pickle plush products seeing a 100% increase. And so what we're seeing here is something unique to Pinterest, trends that cross category boundaries and create multiple commercial opportunities. But to really understand this cross-category evolution, we analyzed boards containing pins related to our 2025 trends, tracking how they evolved from their starting category into new territories. And so if we take a look at one of our other 2025 trends, peak travel, which was really all about mountain tourism, as an example, we saw two clear migration patterns emerging. The first one was really from travel into home and office decor. So as people began curating nature-inspired travel content related to peak travel, we saw people use the inspiration from the aesthetic world of peak travel to bring mountain tourism vibes indoors, finding ideas for their home decor and office spaces. But then we also saw another path emerge, travel to party themes to outerwear. And so boards with social themes like après ski gatherings gradually shifted towards outerwear and winter fashion as users translated that aesthetic into their wardrobe. And so this means that the trend peak travel isn't just about booking your next mountain vacation. It's so much more than that. And so we're seeing it influence how people design their homes, the fashion choices they make, and even how they plan their social events. And this creates dramatically expanded opportunities for brands across a variety of different categories. And this is why Pinterest trends are more valuable than single category insights, right? They create ripple effects across consumer behavior. And so this example and everything that I've shown you with cherry-coated pickle fix and fisherman aesthetic shows how Pinterest trends can create these powerful cross-category opportunities for brands. But you might be asking yourself, how do you actually execute against these particular insights? And to show you what this looks like in action, I'll hand it over to Lavina to walk us through an IRL example.
Thanks, Edwin. Hi, everyone. My name is Lavina Hundiwal, and I'm a lead client partner on the Marriott business here at Pinterest. Now, as Edwin was saying, tapping into trend energy is incredibly powerful, but ultimately, execution is everything. We've decoded how trends move through the funnel on Pinterest, from discovery to conversion, from aesthetics to revenue. And we've proven that our predictions aren't just interesting, they're actionable business opportunities. And here's the critical question: how do you actually execute against these insights? How do you move from understanding the trend to capturing its commercial value? Let's see what happens when a brand gets in early and builds around a Pinterest predicts trend. Marriott Bonvoy faced a classic challenge. How do you break through the noise when everyone's fighting for consumers' attention? They recognized that travel desires were shifting towards outdoor adventures, but they needed to position themselves as the obvious choice before competitors caught on to this trend. When Pinterest Predicts surfaced peak travel as an emerging trend, Marriott and their Publicis partners saw the perfect opportunity, a data-backed insight that aligned beautifully with their outdoor offerings. And instead of waiting to see what competitors would do, they jumped on the opportunity to own this conversation from day one. And this wasn't a single channel push. It was a carefully orchestrated campaign that reached travelers at multiple touchpoints. Marriott secured Pinterest's most premium placement for maximum visibility. They used sophisticated targeting to ensure every dollar reached someone with genuine travel intent. And they created native engagement through bespoke placements. Now, let's break down how each of these elements work together. Let's start with the foundation of their visibility strategy, the Premier Spotlight Takeover. Think of this as owning the only billboard at the entrance to the planning highway. How beautiful. This placement reaches everyone on Pinterest, everyone. So Marriott was getting in front of audiences that they didn't typically target with their other campaigns. When adventure seekers were searching for outdoor destinations on Pinterest, Marriott's messaging was the first thing that they saw. And this wasn't just about reach. It was about being present at the exact moment when travel inspiration strikes and planning begins. Additionally, Marriott used sophisticated audience targeting to ensure that they weren't just reaching outdoor enthusiasts. They were reaching outdoor enthusiasts who actually book premium travel experiences. They leveraged our act-alike modeling based on their first-party loyalty members, and they also retargeted people who engaged with key campaign touchpoints throughout the year. This precision approach meant every impression had genuine conversion potential. And instead of crafting traditional display ads, they built a sweepstakes experience that felt like natural Pinterest content. Users discovered the peak travel getaway prizes when they were browsing Pinterest, and that created genuine engagement rather than advertising annoyance. The prizes themselves weren't just giveaways. They were carefully curated experiences that reinforced Marriott's expertise in outdoor and luxury travel. And Marriott didn't just stop at digital. They seamlessly bridged online and offline experiences by creating a pop-up concierge desk in New York City that offered themed giveaways and getaway experiences. And this wasn't just a nice-to-have activation. It created memorable, shareable moments that amplified their digital campaign reach. It showed that they understood modern consumers expect brands to show up wherever they are, which isn't only online. And now let's get to my favorite part. Let's talk results, because this is where the strategy really proves itself. Marriott achieved 15 times higher brand awareness lift than the typical travel campaign on Pinterest. And just in case you thought you were imagining things, I really did say 15 times higher lift. This is what brand lift dreams are made of. And here's what's even more impressive. They saw 5 times better message association, which means that people didn't just remember Marriott, they remembered Marriott as the authority in outdoor travel. And most importantly for their business, this campaign translated into incremental audience reach and bookings across their full portfolio of brands. Early adoption works because it's where the trend weaves into multiple moments, and Marriott was there for each one. Here are 3 key learnings that emerge from Marriott's success. First, getting ahead of trends early pays off big time. You face less competition and can build authentic connections with your audience before everyone else jumps in. Second, make sure you're using Pinterest platform-first formats and placements so that campaigns feel native to how people are already planning and discovering on our platform. And third, Bridging the gap between online planning and real world experiences makes your brand even more memorable and does drive purchase intent. Plus, it creates those shareable moments that naturally expand your reach. Marriott's pop up activation shows the power of bridging digital planning with the physical experience, but you don't need a Manhattan sized budget to activate this principle because the core insight is truly universal. When people are planning on Pinterest, they are in a high intent mindset. Your job as a marketer is to make sure that digital inspiration is tangible. So if you have the resources, build immersive pop-ups or exclusive events. But on any budget, you can tie physical touchpoints to Pinterest. You can have QR codes that lead to Pinterest boards. You can have in-store displays keyed to trending searches, emails curating trends to your products and offerings, and soliciting user-generated content that turns your customers into creators. Even better, unpaid creators who you don't even have to negotiate with. And the principle here is constant. Meet people in the gap between inspiration and action. That's where they're going to be most open and most interested, and it's where the revenue happens. This strategy is driven by fit, not spend. So now that we've shown you the strategy and the results that prove that it works, Cecilia is going to show you where to focus next with Pinterest Predicts 2026. Take it away, Cecilia.
Thank you, Lavina. Hi, everyone. My name is Cecilia Shepard, and I am a content programming manager here at Pinterest. And I am so excited to introduce Pinterest Predicts 2026, your future forecast for the biggest trends of the year ahead. And we have 21 trends total, but I'm going to be hitting on 4 that are really, really special. And so as we get into it, I want to share 3 ways to think about trends for your brand. 1, so many of our trends are very cross-category by nature, meaning that no matter if you're a beauty or a beverage brand, there's a unique way to make them yours. 2, how to think about the full life cycle of a trend so that you can really activate on it as it's evolving from season to season. And 3, how to think about the why. What are the cultural drivers that are making these trends resonate like never before? And so first up, we have Cool Blue. Cool Blue is a shade that refuses to warm up to anyone. Cool Blue is going to be a major color trend for next year, but you can also think about it as this full aesthetic movement that's bringing a sub-zero sophistication to absolutely everything. For color trends over the past few years, we've seen that a lot of them have been really warm and cozy, and as is the nature of trends, the pendulum is starting to swing in the other direction, and we're seeing that consumers are really craving something that feels fresh and clean and is bringing minimalism with an edge. And what makes Cool Blue so exciting is how it's coming to life across so many different verticals. In fashion and beauty, you can think of Cool Blue as a fresh accent color. So if you are like me and have been obsessed with the pop of red trend over the past few years, where you have a monochromatic outfit and you can add that pop with a red lip or a red handbag, you can think of Cool Blue as 2026's pop of color trend. So if you have a minimalist outfit and add a fresh set of blue nails or a blue handbag, it's really going to make it stand out. But the lure of Cool Blue is going beyond just color. We're seeing that it's evolving into a full sensory experience. So if you're a beauty or a wellness brand, thinking about how you can make your product have a physical cooling factor is just going to make it that much more elevated. So you can imagine a lip balm that has a cooling metal applicator tip or a great pair of under eye patches that are cooling. It's going to wake you up. It's going to depuff. Anything that has this cooling sensation with it is what we're seeing consumers are really looking for. The food and beverage space is having a field day with this trend, from blue colored lattes and smoothies to even blue cocktails. And we're also seeing that Cool Blue is something that in home decor and in glassware itself, there are these whole glacier inspired cocktail drinks. And it's also part of this cooling. And it's also part of when you think of color trends, Cool Blue isn't just this accent color, it's part of amazing color combinations too. So we're seeing consumers are looking for what are these 2 colors that complement each other really well. In home decor, it could be a chocolate brown couch with a blue accent pillow, or in fashion, thinking about a sneaker that has a blue racing stripe against the the base of the sneaker. And in tech and telco, we're also seeing cooling blue products taking off. So every unboxing and social share can feel effortlessly cool, literally. And then let's talk about the seasonal strategy, because this is where brands can truly get creative. Naturally, winter is cool blue's peak moment. This is the time when consumers are planning end of the year ski trips, and we're seeing icy landscapes be on everyone's travel bucket list. But here's the twist, cool blue doesn't need to hibernate after winter. Spring, we have the return of pastels, and it's actually rare in the realm of color trends where you see a color be relevant year round. Think about winter right now. We're seeing a lot of palettes are getting darker and moodier, and towards the holidays, maybe it's more jewel tones with emerald or burgundy. But cool blue stands out because it works no matter the season. In winter, again, it's this great pop of color, but then come spring, it's the perfect complement to spring color palettes. And then the real breakout here is going to come in summer when it's so hot outside and it's sweltering, and all you want to do is get inside for some air conditioning. This is where you could have some great air conditioning product tie-ins, or you can imagine Escape the Heat beverage campaign is really going to resonate with consumers. And then by the time fall arrives, you're already laying the groundwork for the next winter cycle. And so brands that master this year-round strategy won't just be riding a seasonal wave, they're going to be owning cool blue altogether. And next up, we have possibly my favorite trend of the bunch, laced up. The humble doily is set for a major comeback in 2026. And you can definitely think about laced up as the most versatile trend of the moment. In beauty, we're seeing that lace nails are up 200% year over year, with lace techs getting so creative. As their canvas is just the nail bed, they're making these really intricate lace designs. But it's not just stopping at beauty. In fashion, we're seeing that lace bandanas have surged 150%. And with people styling lace bandanas as a bonnet, or even around New York, I've been seeing lots of girls tying a lace scarf around their waist or even draping one around their shoulders. So it's this more unexpected styling that we haven't seen for a while. And even home decor is embracing the trend, and lace is definitely shedding its grandma reputation, and it's the perfect way to style an amazing lace tablescape. And then let's talk about the why. The real insight here is that in a world that feels increasingly digital and harsh, consumers are craving something that has nostalgia and has this timeless quality to it. And so it's the comfort and character of these handcrafted details that are really resonating with pinners. And no trend is weaving itself so seamlessly across different categories and styles. At the heart of the laced up trend is thoughtful styling. And in fashion, we're seeing that designers are using lace as a beautiful accent to their outfit, whether it's a lace collar or a cuff. And when it comes to thinking about what trends are really not just going to be a fad, but are going to take over in a major way, thinking about what are the barriers to entry and how easy is it to adopt this in my life. A lot of us already have lace in our wardrobes. It's just figuring out, is there a way to style this a little bit differently? It's a lace dress where you put, a great cardigan over it and the lace cuff is just peeking out. And so thinking about trends, laced up is the perfect example of something that's easy to adopt. And so you're going to see it take over in this major way. And it's not just in fashion. We're seeing the same thing be true in home decor. The doily, that's something that isn't expensive to get, but can really elevate a tablescape or just about anything. It feels really special. And so 2 years ago, we called the bow stacking trend, and that was the same phenomenon played out, right? Where you have a ribbon, just by tying a ribbon to your hair or adding a ribbon to your bag as a bag charm, or even so many brands were with their pop-ups were tying a ribbon to the stemware of a cocktail glass. And that immediately made it feel really special. Think of doilies and lace as 2026's bows trend. If you're throwing a pop-up, put a doily under a cocktail glass and it's going to help you romanticize your life. Even cafes and coffee shops are embracing this as well. We're seeing that some coffee shops are putting a doily under the rim of a coffee cup, which has been really fun to see. And then perhaps the most fun, we have an entire board dedicated to laced up baking. You can see here on this slide how inspiring it is to see this laced up loaf of sourdough. And so just by taking a doily, you can use that as a stencil and powder sugar on this type of design. So if you're going to a holiday party, it's an easy thing, right? It's just stenciling on this beautiful design, but it feels really elevated and special. And so if you're a brand, you can also bring the same magic to your social feed and to an IRL experience by having a lace backdrop, or even styling your content against a doily backdrop. It feels really special. And then seasonally, Laced Up stands out for its beautiful versatility. Spring is, of course, our undeniable sweet spot with the bridal season. And when it comes to bridal trends, something that's so special about Laced Up is that it feels right for this moment. We're seeing completely unexpected ways of approaching lace where brides are taking a lace handkerchief and embroidering on the invite details for their wedding. But if you're a brand, and maybe you don't want to send that to absolutely everyone, it's a lot of manpower. You can have a handkerchief that you're stitching on invite details for a pop-up and just posting that on your social feed. And so in weddings, we're seeing not only just the embroidered laced up invitations, we're also seeing beautiful Spanish lace veils, and amazing backdrops on the end of the pew when it comes to your wedding. And so what's also exciting about this is it's a trend that's very timeless. So you can imagine your something borrowed being a beautiful lace veil from your grandmother or your mom could feel really special, but it's also something that is going to feel so right for 2026 with so many different designers coming out with really intricate, beautiful lace designs. But that also, if you look back on old photographs, you're going to be like, wow, my wedding looks so timeless and classic and really beautiful. So it nails that sweet spot of right for this moment, but also feeling timeless. And then as the weather warms, lace is going to bring a free-spirited, romantic vibe. Over the past few years, we've seen mesh ballet flats be huge. And I think lace crochet ballet flats will be this next version. Same thing with a great crochet laced up bag. It's going to be beautiful. Even like a lace trimmed scalloped short will definitely be in. And even for festival season, lace is going to be the perfect softening to any of the most daring looks that you can come up with. And then come the fall and holidays, the doily kind of resembles the look of a snowflake, so it's the perfect way to dress up for the holidays and to really create these amazing tablescapes. And so to nail the laced up trend, it's really embracing creative and artful styling, and it's going to bring that elegance and human touch to everything. And next up, we have making its debut, Wilderkin, a trend that whispers instead of roars. In 2026, we're going all in on animal aesthetics, but always with a delicate, enchanting touch. In beauty, expect to see soft fawn freckles, butterfly wing nail art, and even these amazing braids with animal hair clips. And so a key insight here is that Wilderkin is really going to embrace deer print as the biggest pattern for the year ahead. In fashion, if it's a great deer print jacket or in a great pair of deer print nails, or even in home decor, we're seeing beautiful brown furry speckled benches and accent pillows that are making this come to life. Even if you're in tech and telco, taking a phone case and giving it a deer print feels adorable and is something people are going to be looking for. And then over the past few years, we've seen the rise of tabby shoes, these two-toed shoes. And you can imagine, once I say it, won't be able to unsee it, is that the tabby shoe kind of resembles the look of a deer's hoof. And so you can imagine a girl in New York wearing a speckled deer print faux fur jacket with her tabby shoes and maybe some bug nail art. And she is like the face of Wilderkin. It's very whimsical and fun and really a gentle nod to the wilderness. And this trend is extending beautifully into both travel and outdoor adventures. We're seeing lots of fun searches for trail to table picnics, and then also great cottagecore inspired picnics with wicker baskets. And so this trend is all about slowing down and connecting with the wilderness in the most whimsical way possible. And Wilderkin will adapt to every season, bringing a touch of wilderness to daily life. For the holidays, again, this deer print is kind of perfect for the reindeer motif, but it's also the time where you can be inspired by the forest for your hosting, whether if it's at bringing in some moss or having a great dried wildflower wreath. And then as spring arrives, Wilderkin really blooms. We have a whole board dedicated to Wilderkin inspired garden parties, hosting outside under a tree with great fairy lights and really bringing maximalism to home decor. And with this cake, it's kind of one of our chaos cakes from last year, but the freedom in which all these flowers were added here is the general spirit. If you're decorating a cake or creating a great flower arrangement. You don't have to take yourself too seriously. You can have fun. The whole spirit of this trend is really freedom and adding a touch of whimsy to everything. And then for gardeners, you're really going to look to the forest for your planter and landscaping inspiration. And then, not to mention, as summer approaches, we're seeing pinners are searching for nature bathing travel destinations, escaping out to a cottage, or even searching for a fun treehouse stay. And then as autumn arrives, Wilderkin invites you to embrace the cozy comforts. And for Halloween, just maybe you want to dress up as a woodland creature. I could imagine next year the classic easy bunny costume is replaced by a fun deer. Easy, but feels even more fresh. And then lastly, we have extra celestial. The aliens have landed and they have fabulous taste. And the numbers here are something to pay attention to. We're seeing that alien inspired makeup is up 140%, and opalescent searches are up 115%, channeling this otherworldly beauty look that looks really futuristic. And what sets this trend apart is its call to make you feel like the main character, embracing something that feels out of this world and fantastical. And the coolest thing about Extra Celestial is how effortlessly it's spanning so many different categories and while always capturing this captivating sci fi aesthetic. You can think of 2026 as your year of experimentation, and no trend is going to offer you better inspiration. In beauty, this is the perfect time to try something that's a little out there and really have fun with festival season, whether if it's adding an eyebrow slit or bleaching your brows altogether. If you don't want to go totally out there, the beauty look for Extra Celestial is hyper dewy skin, with brands coming out with great face sprays that give you that otherworldly glow, or just having fun with sparkly eyeshadow toppers or lots of great highlighter in general. And then, so it's a trend that really is going to take off in the beauty space, but in fashion and accessories, we'll also have a whole board dedicated to extra celestial chrome jewelry stacks, whether it's a big stack of bangles or even a great ear stack as well. And the home decor angle is huge. We're seeing lots of spiral home decor and also chrome accents taking off, with design lovers really wanting to feel like they're living in the future. And this trend is really a year-round phenomenon. Come winter, it's fun to make your holiday entertaining, have these celestial decorations, and as it's cold and drying outside, nothing feels better than having very hyper dewy skin. And so this is a place for wellness and beauty brands to really have fun. And also you can feel a little alien wearing a sci-fi beauty wellness gadget. And then the fashion scene is going to be equally forward thinking come spring. This is where you can go really out there with your fashion inspiration. And then come summer, we're seeing that consumers are looking for futuristic truck. That search was up 60% year over year, with consumers going out to the open road and really trying to find these ultimate lunar inspired destinations, places that feel like they couldn't really be on this planet. And so there's lots of fun bucket list travel inspiration, from ice scapes to volcanic islands. Even consumers are just trying to escape city life and go out to some place where they can see the stars. If you can be out of the city, look up. There's nothing that it's a very universal feeling of, wow, I feel connected with the universe. And just maybe you'll have a sense that an alien is winking down on you. Um, And of course, as fall unfolds, this is another time where Halloween is going to be fun. So if you didn't go for the woodland creature costume, maybe this is the time to dress up as an alien. So with this trend, the aliens have entered the chat and the future has never looked more exciting. So take a moment to think about how you can apply these trends to your brand or your clients. I've only just scratched the surface with 4 of these trends, but so many of our trends are really cross-category by nature, meaning that there's multiple doors for creative entry and to make them yours. And so now let's move from inspiration to execution. Cameron is going to show you exactly how to get started. So take it away, Cameron.
Thanks, Cecile. Hi, everyone. My name is Cameron Huppertz. I'm a senior creative strategist here at Pinterest. And I'm sure at this point you're asking, how can I actually get started with Pinterest Predicts? Well, let me show you. Let's dive into our top tips for bringing Pinterest Predicts trends to life in your next campaign. First, choosing the right trend for your business. Here's the thing, not every trend is going to be a perfect fit for your brand, and that is totally fine. Next, we'll look at sharpening your strategy by weaving trends into multiple touchpoints across your marketing mix. We'll explore what it really means to own a trend by becoming the brand that people instantly associate with it. And finally, we'll show you how to use Pinterest Trends tool as your go-to resource for discovering trends year-long. Think of Pinterest Predicts as your roadmap for what's on the horizon. Today, we're going to show you exactly how to use that roadmap to level up your strategy, create content that resonates, and nail your targeting. Okay, let's talk about choosing the right trend for your business. The exciting part about our trends is they are incredibly versatile. A single trend can work across different industries if you apply it creatively. Take one of our new trends for this year, Throwback Kid. In 2026, childhood is getting a vintage makeover. We're seeing major spikes around 1970s fashion, childhood toys, upcycled baby clothes, vintage kids fashion, nostalgia toys. Parents, especially Gen X and baby boomers, are really thinking about how they can bring simpler times to how they're raising their own kids. So now let's look at how we can transform that trend for 3 different brands and really help them make it their own. A fashion and beauty brand could lean into the vintage back to school aesthetic with retro patterns and classic styles. They'd be tapping directly into that vintage fashion kids surge. Toy brands could showcase rainbow slinkies and other classic toys that define childhood play. With those searches for nostalgia toys surging, they'd be reminding parents of that simpler, screen-free joy that they grew up with. Or a tech brand could take a totally different approach. Imagine a retro alarm clock with a travel back in playtime message. It's nostalgia design meeting today's functionality. Same trend, 3 completely different executions. Each brand would find their own unique angle based on what they sell and who they're trying to reach. Don't dismiss a trend because it doesn't seem obvious at first. Look at what's underlying that insight and ask, how does this connect with what I have to offer? You might discover unexpected opportunities to reach an entirely different audience. Pinterest Predicts Trends can help you level up your strategy across the board. First, use these insights to bring fresh energy to your creative. Think content calendars and campaign assets that actually feel current and relevant. Second, let trends inform your bigger picture decisions around product marketing and shopping ads. They might even spark entirely new product roadmap. Third, get ahead on search. Incorporate those Pinterest trend keywords into your paid campaigns before your competitors do. And finally, take trends beyond digital spaces and bring them to life through pop-up experiences and in-store displays and marketing events that turn online inspiration into real-world moments. And this is where things get really exciting. You can actually sponsor a trend and make it yours with an official sponsorship with us. This is where you can really elevate your strategy. With the official trend sponsorship, you get exclusive co-marketing privileges around a specific trend, plus creative production support. We provide templates and assets to help you execute effectively. Regardless of your budget, every brand can gain a competitive edge on Pinterest with the Pinterest Trends tool. It helps you go beyond keywords and get deeper insights into what Pinterest user behavior is really doing and help you inform that creative development and campaign planning. You can get access to this at any time at trends.pinterest.com and use it throughout the year to refine your strategy, spark creative ideas, and inform your campaigns. With the trend tool, you can search to see what your audiences are actually searching for right now and get a little glimpse of what's coming next. Explore trends in the spotlight to help you uncover high-impact themes, driving saves, and get direct insight into what your audiences actually want. Review shopping trends to see what products actually are taking off with your audiences that really matter for your brand. And you can check out our editor's picks to stay culturally relevant with trends that are handpicked by our own Pinterest editorial team, which is really cool. Okay, I'm sure you are ready to take action right now, so make sure you go visit the Pinterest Predicts 2026 report online to unlock that full list of amazing trends and get the context behind each one to see exactly where the momentum is building and how your brand can connect with it. The brands who lead tomorrow are the ones who are diving in first, so go ahead and get started. And if you want to learn even more, you can take your campaign to the next level. You can check out our short 15 to 20-minute online courses, including Pinterest Trends Solutions, or even shorter videos to help you learn as you go. Grow at your own pace anytime. And now I'm going to hand it over to Javier for our Q&A.
Thank you so much, Cameron. Appreciate it, sir. Hello, everybody. My name is Javier, and I'm part of the Pinterest Academy team. Just wanted to say a huge thank you for joining us today. As you can see, we sincerely love your feedback on today's session, and you can do so by scanning the QR code you see on screen and filling out a quick survey. Once you submit that survey, you'll get access to the Pinterest Predicts Tactical Guide, which provides a ton of great information that you can use on your next Pinterest campaign. And so throughout today's session, we also had a lot of great questions coming through. So let's take a couple of minutes to answer some of them. So the first question we take here. All right. What are the general insights on 2026 trends, their impact, especially on small businesses, and how to apply them? Emmy, can you give us some insight?
Yeah, thanks. I'd love to. Okay, so I think there are a few sub questions baked into this one, so I'll try to answer each of them. In terms of general insights, one thing that I think is the reality about the world that we're launching our 2026 report into is that there is like more content than ever before. People are being like saturated with content. I'm sure everyone here can kind of relate to that as a consumer themselves. And so we're seeing in response to that, a lot of consumers aren't trying to keep up with all trends all the time. They're really like protecting their energy and choosing which trends truly deserve their attention. And so I think our report this year and the trends that we've selected reflects this shift and shows a strong focus on three things. The first is around self-preservation, the second is around optimism, and the third is around authenticity. So at the end of the day, our audience just really wants trends that feel meaningful and energizing rather than overwhelming. So I think you're going to see a real shift this year away from passive trend following to a step towards like real curation and consumers picking trends that resonate with like their identity or their community. In terms of impacts on the trends and how to activate them, especially among small businesses, I think you heard us talk about this earlier. It's a great way to reach your audiences and drive cultural relevance, and that we see a lot of brands and marketers using them in a wide myriad of ways. So we talked about it can influence your messaging, your campaigns, product innovation. I think you heard a lot of amazing examples from Cecilia and Cameron today, but ways to really align with emerging consumer interests. So my tip for small businesses is you don't have to activate on everything. I would really look for like the 2 to 3 trends that either match your brand, your story, or your audience's interests, and then use Pinterest to make it your own. We've seen a lot of small businesses succeed by being nimble and adding their own twist. So don't just follow a trend blindly, make it your own. And don't forget that sometimes the magic happens at the crossroads of niches. So you could be a small decor brand and you could riff off of Mystic Outlands, that travel trend, for example, through a themed product drop or even a social media series. So the main thing to keep in mind is the filter of like, does it feel real to us, my brand, or does it feel forced? And pick the few trends that align with your brand and your audience.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Emmy. All right. The next question I have here is how can these trends be adapted for multicultural markets across the US, Canada, and LATAM? Edwin, could you give us some insights?
Yeah, of course. So the 21 trends that we are forecasting will be big in the year ahead were identified from a data perspective using global data. So text search data and visual engagement signals across the US, Canada, Latin America, and beyond. And so this global lens on our trends really ensures that we're capturing trends with broad cultural resonance and not just identifying trends that are really popular in one particular market. And so when adapting these trends for multicultural markets, there are a couple of things that I would say to keep in mind. The first one is that the aesthetic mindsets behind every single trend are universal, but the expression tends to be local, right? And so the underlying behavioral shifts, whether it's the desire for the like awe-inspiring journeys of mystic outlands, one of our travel trends, or the playful maximalism of funhouse decor, or even the otherworldly expressions of extra celestial, one of the trends that Cecilia walked us through, we see that these really kind of underlying behavioral shifts really resonate across geographies, regardless of where you are in the world. And so, but how people search for, save, and shop these particular trends, we see internally from our data that these tend to kind of vary by market, language, and cultural context. And then one of the other things that we saw with peak travel is that these particular trends don't stay in kind of tightly defined boxes. And so I would encourage you all to kind of take a look at these trends, kind of see how they can cross categories and kind of be remixed and twisted. And so really focusing a little bit more on the why and not necessarily just what the trend is right now. The specific search queries that we include in our trend report are just 5 examples of how the larger trend is coming to life all around the world. And so we don't think of them as prescriptive definitions. And so really understanding why a trend is resonating. So understanding the emotional need the particular trend fulfills or the cultural value it could represent will help you adapt it authentically for the multicultural audience rather than just translating it literally. And the last thing I will say is that Cameron talked about the trends tool, so trends.pinterest.com. And I would encourage you all to use trends.pinterest.com as your localization tool. So search for the trend concepts from the report and explore related trending search queries for your specific market or combination of markets. And in this tool, you'll find searches in local languages and culturally specific interpretations for the markets and audiences that you're trying to reach. And so keeping all of that in mind, I think, long story short, each of these trends are really, truly globally resonant in nature. But of course, the local interpretations are also up to you all.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Edwin. And it looks like we have a question here about the Marriott Bonvoy success story. So the question is, did you see sustained lift after the campaign ended, or was it limited to the campaign period? So Lavina, could you give us some insight?
Yeah, sure. The short answer is yes. Our initial approach with Marriott and Publicis was to launch the campaign in December of 2024 and end it at the end of H1 of this year. But Marriott continued to see really strong and increasing full funnel performance, which persisted throughout this year and ended up culminating in their outdoor collection launch in late Q3. Ultimately, this validated what we know to be true about Pinterest trends, which they're very durable. They're not trends that come and go. And, they give time to marketing teams to really think through messaging that aligns with business priorities as well as the trends. And at the end of the day, our 88% success rate that Emmy discussed at the beginning of this session is really something to be proud of because it shows our success in projecting actual trends that will have long-lasting relevance. And I just ultimately think it's why every marketer on this call should not just feel comfortable, but really empowered to partner with us on our trends for 2026.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Lavina. And we got a lot of questions about trends as well. And the main one is like, what was the most surprising trend? There was a lot of trends in our report today. So I'm curious to hear Cecilia's. What was your most surprising trend?
It had to be cabbages. Cabbage Crush is definitely a fun trend. The slogan of "Live, Laugh, Leaf" always makes me laugh. And what's so great about cabbages is because we're seeing it really take off for foodies. There are so many unexpected recipes that I think is just going to continue to climb over the next year. But we actually have when we were looking at this trend, the amount of cabbages even that are showing up in the most unexpected places has been really fun. So even in weddings, maybe you go for laced up, but we have a board well over 50 pins all around the ways that people are bringing cabbages to their wedding, whether it's for styling your tablescape with cabbages. Even like wedding bouquets have great cabbages interspersed throughout. And so it's a fun trend. I never would have thought that that would feel as chic as it does, but it really comes to life. And so even for a trend like Cabbage Crush, where you might be like, is this just a foodie trend? There's probably an unexpected way that it can come to life. And so I'm excited to just see how it continues to grow over the next year. And so when you're a brand looking at all our trends, thinking about the unexpected ways that you can make them yours is really something to think about. And because our trends are so cross category by nature, what that means is that it's really going to have the staying power year round because if it's happening in fashion, even for Fisherman Aesthetic last year, which Edwin spoke about, if you're wearing boat shoes and then foodies are interested in tin fish, like if all of this is happening in so many different categories, that means that it's this full movement that you really have a space to play in and make your own.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Cecilia. And we have time for one more question. How can businesses best use fast moving trends and plan content ahead to ensure relevance? So, Cameron, do you have any insights on this?
Yes, I do. Okay. One of the great things about our Pinterest trends is their durability. Like Amy and Edwin mentioned earlier, Pinterest predictions really can grow throughout the year. And that alone just makes it way easier for us to plan as marketers, thinking about how we get our campaigns and our creative assets together. That extra timeline just gives us more space to breathe versus those things that you see pop on Friday and are already boring by the time you get back into the office on Monday. The other thing that durability gives us is the opportunity to start thinking about predicts trends as kind of a larger creative territory for your brand across multiple months or a whole year. So it's a lot easier to respond to these cultural moments and seasonal moments as they pop up if you've already started building out assets and messaging about this kind of larger cultural theme that's happening. So something like Laced Up, if you've already built really great assets or you have really cool products that speak to that theme, when a celebrity wears a beautiful lace gown at the Met Gala, you'll already have things available in your toolkit to jump on and respond to that. So think about it as a way to like look ahead at things that are likely going to be cool and start building your repository of stuff that helps you jump on that fast moving stuff that you've already vetted as being really aligned to your brand message.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Cameron. And with that, we are at time. Sincerely appreciate everybody joining us today. Thank you for your time. Again, if you have, you can leave your feedback, scan the QR code, and you'll be able to download the Pinterest Predicts Tactical Guide as well. And with that, again, thank you for your time, and we'll see you on the next webinar.